Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And this is Maggie, in case you haven't met her before. Today's topic is the spark, and we're going to be talking about inspiration and how it shows up in life and energizes and electrifies us in a perceptibly physical way, and how that then moves us into doing and achieving things that were perhaps previously unfathomable. But before we get started, let's take a minute to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen just flooding into your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream and nourishing every cell and every organ and bringing vital life energy to your body. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any stress, negativity, fatigue. And let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating all your cells, electrifying your electrons and molecules, and creating this brilliant buzz from the inside out. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining stress or tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently rub our palms together and softly, softly feel the tingling and sensation of your fingers rubbing across your palms and the deliciousness of being here in the physical present. Bring yourself here, right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, Pat. Great to have you here with us. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us this morning. Maggie is eating her apple. She loves apples, as you can see. Um, so she demolishes them. Anyway, spark of inspiration. I was thinking about this because I have lately had an inspiration, and I am aware of the energy that it brings with it. When we really experience inspiration, even if we have a lackluster or lack of energy around all kinds of other things in our lives, even in the experience of fatigue, when we experience inspiration, all of a sudden it brings this brilliant energy along with it. And we can feel it tingling in our bodies and in our extremities. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about the spark today, the spark of inspiration, and how enlivening and revitalizing it can be. I've noticed for myself lately that there are certain things that I just don't, that I've kind of been avoiding, like that I just have not been doing, that it would be a good thing if I were to do those things, but I haven't been. They've just sort of languished. And yet with this new inspiration, I'm in action. I'm taking action to explore it more fully. So it's interesting how energy and interest and inspiration works. It's like when I'm not sure who it was I was listening to the other day who was talking about kind of like inspiration, how, maybe a kid is every morning has to get woken up multiple times by their parents to go to school. But on the morning of, I think it was Joe Dispenza talking about it actually, on the morning of the class trip, you're up and dressed and ready to go before the alarm. And what's the difference? The difference is inspiration, right? And excitement. And so I'm wondering for you, if you have experienced these moments of inspiration. I'll share my latest with you. I've been thinking for quite some time about, even before I had the Sustainability Now podcast, I'd been thinking about having a van or a camper and tooling around the country with great internet access and doing interviews of all kinds of people doing wonderful, wild things around the country. And so this has been in my awareness, my consciousness for a while. But as I've been thinking about this idea, I really, and I have been watching a lot of videos about van conversion and about living on the road and stuff like that. And the idea of having to, consume all that gas and what it would do to the environment, not to mention the cost, et cetera, et cetera. It's just been daunting. But recently I came up with the idea of having a hydrogen powered vehicle. And I have a friend who is one of the foremost leaders in hydrogen technology, and I had a conversation with them to find out if it's possible to have an autonomous hydrogen car or vehicle, meaning that a hydrogen vehicle that wasn't dependent on getting hydrogen, for instance, from a hydrogen fuel station, but that would generate its own hydrogen. And the answer that I got was yes, it is possible to configure something that would generate its own hydrogen on board, potentially from water or from solar, using solar energy. So this was very, very exciting to me. And as a result of that, yes, I've now been a lot more active in looking at how I could have this happen, and came up with the idea of having a sponsored Sustainability Now hydrogen tour on this van. Good morning, Irma. Welcome. Great to have you back with us. Um, so I've had this idea of getting sponsors for for this project to be able to create this vehicle that has, is wrapped with kind of like a billboard that says the Sustainability Now hydrogen tour, that sponsored by whatever, and being on the road and making this whole thing a project where it's documented, where the conversion is documented, where the travels are documented, where life on the road is documented, and promoting the cause of hydrogen as a primary fuel source. So lots and lots and lots of exciting energy around this. So Rosalind says, come to California during your sustainability hydrogen tour. I'd love to meet you and Maggie. Rosalind, I had no idea that you were in California. And so it's like super early for you there. It's like 6 a.m. And I think you do the morning cup of joy too. I guess you don't sleep. You get up super early, but it would be awesome. Yeah, to go across the country, to meet all kinds of people, to be able to say hello to you guys, my new virtual friends here, and to be promoting hydrogen. And in fact, California is the only state in the country right now where there are hydrogen fuel stations and a decent number of hydrogen cars on the road. And so that would be amazing. Anyway, I have this spark. And what I've noticed is that around this inspiration, I mean, we're talking this week really about living outside the box and living outside of our own self-imposed limitations. And this idea of the hydrogen tour really is very exciting and stimulating to me. I even talked with my business partner about it, and now I'm talking to some people to see the feasibility and look at pricing for it, and what the production costs would be, and all kinds of stuff like that, in order to maybe do even a Kickstarter or get sponsors, etc. So I'm wondering for you, like what lights you up? When was the last time you had an inspiration? And it could be something like really, really simple. It could be something like an inspiration to plant a garden, where all of a sudden you get energized. It could be an inspiration to write a book or to keep a journal or to have a regular practice, like maybe an inspiration to do yoga regularly or something that really just gives you energy to accomplish things that you didn't have the energy for previous to that. So something that really ignites this action. Hello, Harihi. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you here. So, Pat says, I planted sunflowers this morning. Well, that's a beautiful inspiration, too. It can happen on any kind of level, but sunflowers are so life affirming. They're just, I love sunflowers. So, good for you, Pat. That's awesome. And like these can be little inspirations. It could be inspiration to cook something new, or to try, or to cook even your favorite meal, to get inspired to do something like that. The other day I got inspired to get myself to the farmers market, and I bought strawberries and rhubarb, and I made a chutney, a strawberry rhubarb chutney. I've never made or even tasted strawberry rhubarb chutney, but I was inspired to do that the other day. Or I think when there's some light and some energy around something, it is really truly invigorating, meaning that it brings life back into our being, and motivates us into a new level of engagement with life. So that's all pretty exciting stuff. And I'm wondering what are the kinds of things that you get inspired to take action around. If you, and again, it can be really, really simple. So Rosalind says, I see tuberous flowers at farmers markets seasonally, so I sprouted tuberous bulbs. I'm looking forward to growing the fragrant flowers from soil. Beautiful for you. That's awesome. Um, and now, when you talk about tuberous flowers, I don't know what those are. I mean, are you talking? I don't know if you're talking about a certain genre of flowers, or if you're talking about a certain kind of flower specifically. I don't know what that is, but I agree with you. Growing things and and seeing that life is amazing. In fact, you guys are reminding me. Maggie is very full of inspiration this morning. Um, I don't have a garden, because I live in an apartment, and I had been part of a community garden for a while, but not now. So I have plants on my windowsill, but I had also bought a whole bunch of seeds for sprouts, and I had been growing the sprouts, and it was so inspiring to just see how quickly these things grew, and then of course to be able to eat them and receive the nourishment from them. It is really awesome. So I'm wondering, growing things is really inspiring to me anyway, or watching things grow. I have some orchids that I love, and a jade plant, and I keep protecting the plant that Maggie's trying to eat, the night blooming cereus. And so having that connection to life is also a really rich inspiration. And I'm wondering, what other kinds of inspirations have you had? Sometimes our inspirations are really simple and and delicious in our daily living. And sometimes we get inspired with these big, grand inspirations that become a more ongoing project that that can engage us over extended periods of time. So a garden is a long-lasting inspiration for sure. Maybe a renovation for a part of your home, or um, different kinds of projects are typically evolving out of inspiration. So, like I've been thinking for a long time about how my need to declutter, um, to divest myself of a lot of the things that are surrounding me. To start um, decluttering. And even though I know that that would be a really good thing, I still have not found the inspiration to do it. I haven't been able to motivate myself to do it. I just haven't. If I knew I were moving, then that would be an impetus for sure. So Rosalind says tuberose is a white cream pastel pink flower. Oh, how cool. You know, so another inspiration for me, nature is a constant inspiration, but I love peonies. And this time of year, the peonies that are in my backyard of where my apartment is, are just starting to grow. I mean, just starting to bloom. And they have such a delicious, delicious smell. Rosalind, I'm looking up tuberose. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. And I'm guessing that they smell delicious too. How lovely. Wow. So good for you to have uh, taken that on. Anyway, so I cut some peonies the other day and have them on my dining room table, and I'm waiting for the blooms to open. They're just so lovely. So, even looking at those flowers, smelling those flowers, that can in itself provide a spark of inspiration, right? Where we just have a new sense of vitality and optimism. So I wonder what other kinds of experiences you have, or that you can presence yourself to, around inspiration and this spark of life. And this is a great time of year for that, of course, being spring with all this new life coming forth, and trees in bloom and flowers in bloom. Maggie's just like nonstop this morning. It's crazy, right? it, she's just going for it, right, Meg? Now she stopped. Anyway, all this great energy of new life and new ideas, new inspiration. What else? What else do you experience as far as this rising vital energy, and how do you feel it in your body? Like, how do you metabolize inspiration? What I noticed is that there was like sort of an uplifting, almost like a string pulling the center of my chest up, so that my whole posture shifts. There's my shoulders, rise rather than being collapsed in. My shoulders straighten up, and there's just more energy. And I'm thinking about this to see, well, how can we how can we expand our capacity for, and our exposure to, or our experience of this kind of inspiration. Welcome, Elaine. Great to have you here as always. We're talking about the spark of inspiration that enlivens and invigorates and energizes us, and where do we find our inspiration, and how do we generate it, where, how does it emerge? I find, I often find inspiration in researching evolution of new technologies and sustainability projects. I find some of what people are doing to be so inspiring, and I think that we can deliberately. Good morning, Louise. I don't think I've ever seen Make a Pathway Louise here before. Welcome, welcome. So wonderful to have you joining us. We're talking about the spark of inspiration that brings vitality and moves us into action, um, even if that action is appreciation. So, you know, the inspiration that we might get from smelling delicious fragrance of flowers is uplifting and enlivening. And Louise, since you're new here, at least in the comments, that noise coming from the background is Maggie, who is my alter ego here. She's the star of the show. Maggie is a green cheek conure who is very, very vocal this morning. She's she's sitting on top of, this is a backdrop here. It's not actual bricks, but she's sitting up there and saying hello. Come here, Meg. Come say hello to everybody. Come on. Now she's just looking at me. She's not coming. Anyway, maybe hopefully she'll make an appearance. So we're talking about inspiration and the spark. What are the kinds of things that you get your inspiration from? What inspires you? And I'm thinking that, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing for us to take time on a daily basis to nurture our inspiration? Maggie, Maggie, good girl. She went over to the plant, and now she came back. So there's this wonderful, wonderful, magical plant. If you've never seen a night blooming cereus, here she is. Hey, Maggie, say hi. Say hi to everybody. Yeah, it's hard to believe that such a little bird can make such big noise, right? A night blooming cereus. It's spelled Cereus, I believe. It's a really crazy, amazing plant, and the flowers in it bloom overnight for one night only. And they look kind of otherworldly. They're big and they are very fragrant and really, really extraordinary. So check it out. But that's the plant that she's intent on mutilating. She really pruned it quite substantially. Anyway, we're talking about inspiration and that vital spark that moves us into action. You know, have you noticed that? I don't know about you, but I've noticed patterns in myself where I just couldn't get myself to do anything about some particular thing for the longest time. And then bam, all of a sudden I'm inspired and I go great guns and really knock it out of the park when I have that inspiration to do whatever that thing is. Like I've seen that about cleaning my apartment, you know, like it's just, I couldn't get myself to do it for extended periods of time, and then all of a sudden bam, today's the day, and I just rip it up and get it done. So Elaine says, I plant flowers that the butterflies and birds and bees like, watching them so in the moment. I love it. Magic, right? Magic of nature begetting more magic of nature. It's pretty extraordinary. So yeah, there are butterfly bushes that I'm aware of that you can plant too, that call in nature and all the pollinators and the butterflies and the bees and the birds, and how delightful, right? And maybe even bird feeders so that you can watch the birds. And I know that some folks that I've known put up hummingbird feeders to call the hummingbirds into the garden, and they're so remarkable. So nature is a really incredible source of inspiration for so many of us, and feeding that feeding our soul. This is, the inspiration feeds the soul. And I guess there are all different degrees of inspiration. There's inspiration that inspires appreciation and joy. There's inspiration that inspires actual physical action, inspiration that inspires us to take action, and inspired ideas that that light us up and give us a sense of direction and purpose. And all of these things, inspired to paint something or to write something or to uh, otherwise document it, inspiring to play, to just go and play. So Elaine says, for me, not doing is so powerful, as well as the do I love, as the do I love it all. Oh, okay, I got it. For me, not doing is so powerful, as well as the doing. I love it all. Life is absolutely amazing to me. Deep gratitude. Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying here, is that there's all different kinds of inspiration. There's being the presence of being present to, for instance, being present to the magnificence and magic of nature, versus or in addition to the inspiration that moves us into action. So very, very exciting, amazing stuff. And inspiration, I think for me, part of inspiration is wonder. I wonder and awe are, I think I've said before, two of my highest values. And the appreciation that comes along with that, the appreciation for the magic of the universe and of nature. And I'm looking at the doingness, um, in my coaching practice with folks. I deeply encourage people to not move from the doing that is inspired by setting external goals, but to move into doing from from a sense of inspiration, from inspired action. Because when we move from inspired action, the energy is 1,000 times different than trying to overpower ourselves, or strong arm ourselves into creating, uh, uh, thinking a goal and setting a goal, like losing weight, for instance, or setting a goal to exercise every day. Or that's very different than being inspired to um, to exercise every day. Setting the goal because we think we should is very different from setting a goal because it's coming from our heart and soul. And the goal then becomes a representation of that inspiration, versus something that we're trying to impose on ourselves. It's a difference between inside out versus outside in. And so Elaine says, I've been asked by so many to write a book. Well, I believe that, Elaine. And I'm wondering if that's something that you're going to do. There are ways to write a book that could be, um, that Maggie, 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 good girl. That could be really, that could make it a whole lot easier for you. So Elaine says, I do so good. I do good typing on here or texting. Yes, well, you know, what a great way for you potentially to look at how to write a book might be by recording yourself telling some of your stories. Because I find for me that when I'm faced by a blank page, I can tend to feel paralyzed. Whereas when I have more facility just talking conversationally, and then I can adapt that content into something that is written. So that might be a good hint for you, um, and to start thinking about, well, what do we want to share? You know, you have so much light and love to share with the world, Elaine, and coming from a very tough story, you know, where you've come to, I'm sure that it would be very inspiring to people to for you to share your story with them. So, of course, you're more than welcome. So, inspiration. It all, you know, I although we might Maggie, Maggie, good girl. Although we might wait for inspiration, I think that there are probably things that we can do to incite inspiration, to make it more accessible to ourselves. And some of those things, you know, are really simple, like being in nature, perhaps, you know, that can help to serve as inspiration. Uh, I think maybe the more we practice inspiration, the more facility we have to access it. And so, for instance, I know with writing that creating a regular practice, like a certain time of day that or a certain place to create a certain ritual around, create making a sacred space, same thing with meditation, that by creating those rituals or creating a certain routine about it. I know this is kind of an odd thing to be talking about routine in the face of inspiration, but when we create a certain routine about it, then it's like creating new neural pathways that say, oh, okay, now it's time for inspiration. Now it's time for to move into this other dimension. And so our body, our being, our consciousness has the friendly environment to be able to support that inspiration. And so that's another thing that we can look at doing. Like for me, these mornings are inspiring for me, and every morning, you know, I go through the ritual of setting up the the streaming and presencing myself to discover what the topic will be for the morning. And so I guess that for me is a daily inspiration. And I so appreciate all of you for your role in that, for being here to share this time together and to engage in these conversations. So um, I really do have a tremendous appreciation for you and the contribution that you are to me. I hope that you find this, that I'm imagining that it's a contribution to you because you keep coming. So I'm so grateful for that as well, for all your contributions. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and Maggie and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. It is such a joy and privilege to be with you. And until next time, let's nurture and nourish that spark of inspiration.